I gotta get a whole new beer now. I drank a whole beer sitting here waiting. The beer that's very heavy and high on alcohol content that I thought would carry me through 2 episodes.
We sat here and bullshitted
We
and
sat
drank all the
here and
way
had
through.
like a deep conversation, and I drank almost all of it. If I pass out through one of these episodes, please keep recording my screen and just use it all.
It'll just be us going, Chris, and Josh will edit in just like the background that is now there because Chris is off screen, passed out. Hello and welcome to Star Wars Every Week Forever, where we're watching one Star Wars movie every week forever. This week, surprise, it's Rogue One, because we felt like it. So
Happy May the 4th.
Indubitably. So, Chris, how was your watch?
My watch was just fantastic. It was good. It was so good.
I feel like we all kind of had a euphoria at watching something that wasn't the normal rotation. Josh.
That's one word for it.
Did y'all know that Rogue One was the best Star Wars movie ever made?
I thought that was,
Right?
Force Awakens.
No, it's Rogue One.
My plan.
I'm pretty sure you said Force Awakens was.
No, it's Rogue One.
My plan, because I didn't want to like step on Jay's intro here when we were like doing the whole how's your watch, was gonna be like, I feel like someone could make the argument that this is the best Star Wars movie ever made, and I might be the person to make that argument tonight, I know I said Revenge of the Sith is the best movie in the franchise recently, but no, I think it's Rogue One.
By recently, you mean 8 weeks ago. Wait, no, never mind. We're pretty close to live. Hi, everybody. Hi, we're, I feel really bad for the people that have started with this episode.
Yeah, this is actually going to be super close. It's the 30th right now.
Yeah, we're recording
So
the
we're gonna
closest to live we've ever recorded, I think.
Oh shit. Well, except didn't we do that one like emergency episode when
You're right.
Netflix
You're right.
got announced?
Broadcast, yeah.
I
This
don't know
might
how.
honestly be closer though.
I don't remember.
I don't
I
know.
forget how
We're,
quick
it's
that
fun. We're
launched.
here. We're ready to talk about it. We're all here in our Sunday best. We're ready to.
I feel attacked because I know that was directed at me.
Our friend Ben is wearing a ducky shirt with a ducky tie.
Hell yeah, I am. Special occasions.
Hell yeah.
I'm just gonna jump right in because like
Do it.
I have like 3 pages of notes, all of which saying this movie is really, really good.
I think I only
Almost
have like 4 notes, but they're like talking point notes. You know what I mean?
I feel like I've never heard you have a note, so go ahead and say your note. One of your notes.
I have 5 notes, but they're
I
like
am-
talking point notes. So like, the first one, I'll just read them verbatim. Fucking love Death Troopers.
Yo, Death Troopers are great. I'm glad they're
Death Troopers
canon
are great.
again. Yeah,
Anytime
Death
they're in
Troopers-
anything, just fuck yes,
They
immediately.
look
Just
fucking
the
dope in
best.
this movie. And they're handled in a way that Star Wars doesn't do a lot, where they put some
where they're
importance
capable
behind
of
them.
actually shooting
Yeah.
people.
They put some importance behind them. Like, they're protected in this movie the same way as droid because they're randomly protected in
Yeah.
pre.
Yeah, I have a lot of notes, but they're also all over the place. So we might want to.
Well, while we're talking about that original farm, I will say, and this is one of my few not totally positive notes. Rogue One does not understand what the rings of a planet is actually made of because it's literally just light in this movie for some reason. It's literally just light that they travel through.
I mean, that
And
could just be that particular planet, maybe. I don't know.
It's weird.
Star Wars, man.
It's
Star
just
Wars
fucking
doesn't do.
sci-fi.
Yeah, Star Wars isn't a sci-fi. We've talked about this. Star Wars is a fantasy franchise. Thank you very much.
You're right.
Space
You're
wizards
absolutely right.
doing space coke and abducting children.
I mean, this movie has a choke slam in it, so what else do you want me to do? Like,
It does have a
very
choke
simple.
slam in it.
It has a choke slam in it.
Why does this movie have a choke slam in it?
That
Coming
K2.
soon
What
from
is happening?
WWE Studios.
Oh my god.
K2 is so fucking good.
K2 is really good.
The absolute sarcasm that oozes out of that monotone voice reminds me of every friend that I've ever had that people don't realize have dry sarcasm and just take them very seriously whenever they say anything. It really is fantastic.
So, this fucking book.
Are you fucking serious right now? Ben, okay, I'm gonna... Ben.
No, hold on. Ben, you're so good at this. What? Who told you
This
to be
is-
competent?
The one-shot. So this is a one-shot, and usually one-shots are episodes that introduce people to our show. So if you would please explain what the fuck you're talking about.
I decided, without either Chris or Josh's knowledge, to listen to the audiobook of Rogue One. Because
Which
that's
is
what I did in a
continuation of
previous...
yeah.
In a
Continuation
previous
of a bit we
rotation.
did for a full rotation.
If you don't know, we watch Star Wars every week forever.
Because we're
Spoiler alert.
broken people.
This fucking book.
Fucking book.
It actually it gives us a better insight into like Saw's relation to Jin between when she is abandoned as a child and when she's in like the Imperial transport thing where she gets rescued.
Is this concurrent with the comic series they did?
I honestly don't know.
I know they went into her relationship with Saw in the comics for a bit.
I mean, they ain't go into like great detail, but we get a decent amount more than what we got in the movie, where it's just like, oh hey, I worked with you for a while and you abandoned me, and so it's just like, yeah. Like they actually describe her as his adopted daughter.
I mean, they imply that a lot in the movie. Which, by the way, I don't know when else I'm going to be able to say this, so we'll go right back into the book after I say this. I am convinced the entire scene where the Death Star and the failure put into it, that entire scene might be my favorite. And maybe this is a we watch Star Wars every week thing, and how tired we are watching Star Wars, but I'm convinced that entire scene might be my favorite scene in the entire franchise. The way that it plays out, where she's slowly trying... I will describe it as there were people when this movie came out, I'll call them nostalgic YouTube reviewers, said that it felt like the actors weren't putting all of their emotion into a role. I think that's distinctly untrue, especially when you watch a scene like this where you watch Jin struggle because she has been so guarded her entire life to hold in all of her emotions as this wave of her father's voice rolls over her, telling her about how he put his entire life in danger in order to save the galaxy, yes, but her, while her adopted father watches on with confliction as the father that abandoned her tells her how much he loves her, and she reacts to it more than she ever reacted to him. And then watching that emotion just bubble out entirely while the symbol of his love for her and his love for the galaxy and what he had given up entirely destroys the landscape around them. That fucking scene is so exceptional.
I mean, it's crazy because it's Star Wars. Again, we watch it every week. Star Wars is something that is very special to me as much as I shit on it every week. I don't get emotional watching Star Wars. I don't remember the last time I watched a Star Wars movie and like got emotional, like felt emotional. This movie does it at a couple points. Like that's another one of my notes. Like I get weirdly emotional every time I see Bail Organa. That's
that nostalgia, baby. That's that nostalgia bubbling.
That's the nostalgia, but like there and exactly as you talked about before. I mean that whole this is a beautiful movie too. Like just I hesitate to call it cinematography because it's CG for the most part and
I
visual
think
effects, but
sometimes you can describe cinematography as a way a shot is framed, even if
yeah,
it includes
yeah.
CGI.
It's
I could be talking out of my ass, but
it's just but like it's just a beautiful movie. And like the shot of when the Death Star first arrives over Scarif and when you see it over the planet and just this movie is just
the
we're just
way
gushing about Star. It feels
And
nice to
I
be gushing about Star Wars.
it really does. Rook. Before we get back to Ben's point, Rook. The way they show the shot of Rook on the outside of the, extremist rebel base, looking as the thing that he had come here to stop, that he helped build, destroys the entire horizon, and his just complete breakdown because of it. Juxtaposed with the next scene that is that vision from space that looks far more mild, with the man who is largely responsible for creating it and him having to hold back a tear of pride and saying it's beautiful, is fantastic. This is a really good movie.
Such a good movie.
So I was trying to piggyback off of Josh's earlier point.
Sorry.
I just want to real quickly not shit on, but shit on Josh's prior point, because I do love that whole scene with Jin and her father's hologram, but it's totally ruined with Saw's sacrifice that was completely unnecessary and
Yeah.
bothers the fuck out of me
That
to
was
this day.
that was also one of my
But-
notes.
Here's the thing. How the fuck was he supposed to get out of there?
They say, hey, come to the U-Wing, and he says no.
I'm done running.
If he had gone with them, he would have slowed them down.
All he had to do was hop on the ship.
Like I get it. I thought about that too when I was pissed off about. He moves slowly. He moves very slowly by this point. We know that.
Yeah.
But the ship was all like it doesn't take them. I don't think it would have really affected them too much. You know what I mean? Like
And I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's like standing there watching the ship go.
Can I juxtapose that with something that I brought up when I was talking?
Yeah.
The way that entire scene is framed, there's an alternate thing going on outside of Jin and her father, and it's him watching Jin watch him and look at him in a way she never looked at him. Saw realizes throughout the entirety of that scene that he failed as the guardian of her because he was so obsessed with what he was currently doing and how far it had gotten him from the rest of his ideals. So at that point, it's this realization of the method that he used his entire life not only failed him professionally, but it failed him personally. It's almost, now that I sit here and think about it, it's almost like a giving up on life because he realized just how much he had failed to the person he cared about most, the only person that could have walked into that base and talked to him one-on-one.
Josh, this is why I love you, because we were talking about this earlier. We bounce off of each other so well, and we know each other and understand each other. I really appreciate how you're so artistic with your words in a way where you can make the most depressing Star Wars movie even more depressing.
It's one of those things, every once in a while I'm sitting here describing a scene on any version of this podcast, I'm convincing myself into a world thought as I'm talking because a kernel of something came to it, and I just convinced myself that he basically chose suicide because he fucked up so much.
I don't know. It's like it just doesn't feel like Saw to me.
I had a very similar thought to that.
Because Saw is meant to be like the extremist, never give up, fight, win at all costs, guerrilla warfare motherfucker. And him just being like, nah, I give up. Just like, I don't know, it feels weird to me.
I get it.
Yeah.
But I think the movie did fine. It's not, for all the things I just said, it's not well done, that part right there.
Yeah.
He is just kind of pushed to the side. But because that former scene is so powerful, for whatever reason, this watch, and thank God I don't have to watch this movie anytime soon, so this is going to just live on in my fucking brain. I get something. this watch made me think, all right, that makes sense.
I know we just had this like deep talk about how like what the best scene in this movie is and everything, but I would like to now come in with the fact that the actual best scene in this movie is when they're putting the sacks over everyone's head and Donnie Yen's character just goes, "Are you kidding me?
I'm blind."
Donnie Yen's character is so fucking good in this
love Donnie
movie.
Yen so much. It kills me that we got Donnie Yen in a fucking Star Wars movie at my one. Yeah, we're gonna put him in the one where everyone dies.
Oh, God. That's another brilliant scene in this movie. The I'm one with the Force and the Force is with me.
Yes.
The entire scene, and then he comes over and he gives back into his old ways, but he reverses it.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking brilliant. Ben, we totally derailed the point about the book that you wanted to bring up. I'm deeply sorry.
No, I got that point out there.
Yep.
It's just
Yeah,
like about what was it? Just like you get a little more backstory about how she was fighting with Saw for basically a couple of years. I want to say it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't just like, oh hey, I'm captured now. Oh no. Like you get a bit more. It fleshes that out a bit more.
Can I ask a question?
No.
Okay, moving on.
No, what's up?
There was something I wanted to ask. The scene where Saw is when Saab sends the pilot Rook to the Borg Gullet. The scene right before that scene where he decides to send him. Do they mention Vader at any point in that scene? In the book? Because I actually did have a note about asking you about the book, despite the fact that I didn't know you were reading the book, because I knew you read the book at some point.
I want to say no.
I have a theory about that scene, and it's less a theory, more of an informed, not the Borg Gullet, but the scene right before it where Rook is brought before him. The way they frame the scene, it's basically him trying to figure out Rook, and when he goes to take a breath, he's not heavy on breath when he does it. He takes it and kind of violently puts it up to himself, and he watches him the entire time he does it, and Rook flinches. Like, he does not react well to hearing that respirator. And I was sitting there like, was he trying to see if he's been around Vader? Because it wasn't Saw gasping for breath. It was Saw just studying him while he took the breath. Yeah, it was a very deliberate decision. So while I was sitting there, I was like, was he trying to see if Rook would react violently to that because he's been in the presence of Vader, and if he's been in the presence of Vader, he's probably high enough that he shouldn't be trusted.
This is some like Star Wars truther level shit.
This is some. What are we doing? This isn't who we are as a podcast. This is too smart of a conversation. We're dipping our toes into seriousness again in a way that I really worry about.
If this is your first episode, this is not the podcast that we do.
We did this with the emergency broadcast too, if I remember correctly. It was like, oh, they sound like they know what they're talking about. They sound pretty put together.
We don't. Matter of fact,
they went to the next episode, and I think we immediately started shitting on Liam Neeson.
Yeah, we're a comedy podcast, but it turns out when you watch Rogue One after watching all of the other Star Wars movies every single week for 9 months, Rogue One's a pretty good movie.
There is something that kind of bothered me about this movie.
Okay.
And that is when they're in Jeddah City at first, and the one Imperial transport is attacked. And they're like, oh, it's Saw's terrorists, and it's just a bunch of guys walking around in like fucking like stereotypical looking Middle Eastern garb, and it's just like
I was
right. I don't want to say turbans, but like head coverings and shit, and it's just okay, this feels a little.
It was.
Yeah, it was a little not great.
It was a little not great.
Also, the very unnecessary, I have to go save this child in the middle of a war zone shot was a little much for me. I was like, I appreciate it's there, but
they have to do the They have to do the classic film trope of, no, we have to show that this woman isn't that mean.
Can I?
She's not Ray from the novelization mean.
I want to give Diego Luna some credit here as well.
Diego Luna.
Yes.
Cassian in this movie is brilliantly underplayed.
Yeah.
That's another thing when people said that it felt like the actors were holding back. The actors were holding back because you were dealing with deeply traumatized people on all sides, and deeply traumatized people don't easily let out their emotions in a logical way. Two scenes specifically, right at the beginning when he kills the informant.
Another one of my notes.
You got a note on that? Take it from you.
That was another one of my notes. Yeah, that scene is so... That scene is what really set this movie up. Like, because I went to see this in the theaters when it came out. You know, that long period where we could go sit in the building with recycled air, with stadium seating.
Public gatherings.
Yeah. I saw this in the theater, and like that scene kind of really set the tone. You know, like it was because when they first put out what this movie was gonna be and started showing off like teasers and stuff, I was like, man, the story and everything, they could really do Saving Private Ryan, but Star Wars.
Yeah,
and then
that's
like
what it is.
That scene fucking set the tone. The rest of the movie, I'm like, holy shit, they actually did Saving Private Ryan with Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that scene is incredible. Like that scene showed the scoundrels, as they're generally referred to in Star Wars expanded media. Like, Cassian Andor is what I think George Lucas thought Han Solo was. Like he just kind of gives off that vibe of like, he's the shady type, and he's trying to do what's right, but also he just is gonna shoot this guy in a fucking back alley,
I don't know if that's necessarily the characterization I would go with. They did a very purposeful decision to make him an indoctrinated soldier down to his deepest core, and that's why I think it's so brilliant that he literally, almost in a motherly or fatherly way, talks him down when he's panicking before shooting him. Mm-hmm. And then as he kind of steps back, the way he just kind of shakes his head, and that's shock. That was shock, and a level of being unable to accept what you've just done to a beautiful extent. And then on the other side of the spectrum, the weakest part of this movie is when Jin's father is killed. That segment right there is really messy and not well done. It's very rushed. The scene after it, where he's desperately trying to remain the calm, sort of gruff soldier that he's always been, the calm assassin that he's always been, but his emotion just keeps bubbling out without him being able to control it because he's never been taught how to process emotions in a way that makes sense, is really brilliant. And it's really brilliant because I think a lot of people look at this and say, well, the fact that Jin and Cassian had like kind of a relationship at the end was weird. They didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't. The only reason why they got anywhere close to each other was because they looked at the horizon and said, we're dying. Well, we might as well die in the company of another person.
I was thinking of that today too. Like it's been a while since I watched this movie again. I went into it thinking, like, I remembered, like, oh yeah, they felt, of course, like they had to shoehorn like a love interest romance thing, like, but no, I forgot, they just are like holding on to each other at the end. They're like, that's all, like, it's not played like that at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's God, this movie is so good.
So good. It's like,
this movie is so good.
I'm gonna express the theory. I think Disney said you got to put some kind of love interest in there somewhere, and they were like, okay, let's see how much we cannot do that while making people think we did that.
I think Donnie Yen and the other actor whose name I can't remember had more of a love story than
it feels like that.
Cassian.
Yeah, it does feel like that. We are in a unique position on this podcast where it's just me and Chris talking a lot. Yeah. For once, which never happens.
Yeah. Well, usually, I mean, if this is the first time you're coming in, you should probably go check out at least a few older episodes. We have this thing where we get really depressed. I'm sorry, hold on. We have this thing where I get really depressed, and we go, we, we, we go through a few episodes, and it's a real downer. I'm not talking at all. Ben's
Yeah.
just talking like books, and Josh is bouncing off. And it's great conversation, but like every once in a while, Josh should be like, "How you doing, buddy?"
I
How's
feel
it
like that's
going?
me tonight. I'm just like I'm exhausted today, so that's why I'm a little
That's all right.
quiet.
Ben brought that ducky shirt energy.
Ben brought that ducky shirt
All right.
energy.
Well, this fucking book gave me
We're committed.
some fresh canon.
Fresh cannon!
And you guys are gonna love this.
Fresh cannon!
This is the first time we've done video chat since we started doing this dumb fresh canon thing.
Fresh canon. You guys are gonna love this. So portions of the finale are from the point of view of General Radis, the Mon Calamari guy who shows up at the end.
Fuck yes, I love him.
And he notes to himself about some of the differences between humans and aliens when it comes to warfare,
Oh no.
Oh, no.
and how humans seem to be very very invested in winning battles where it might not be tactically important to stay in the battle. And he believes this to be attributed to humans having a slower reproductive rate than
Oh
Mon
my
Cala.
God, are you fucking serious?
This is Rogue One's the best thing to happen to Star Wars of all of the things that have ever happened to Star Wars.
There is no Star Wars. There's just Rogue One.
Only Rogue One. We're a Rogue One podcast from now on.
No. I don't want to be a Rogue One podcast because I don't want to kill this sacred cow. I'm gonna kill 1 through 9. I don't want to kill this one. This is my secret. This is my secret Star Wars. I did not watch a
We
single
already
Star
have a
Wars.
secret Star Wars. It's this podcast. What do you mean secret Star Wars?
I have
Secret
not.
Star Wars. That's what every year we're gonna randomly pick a person, or we're gonna do we're gonna each get each other a secret Santa gift, and it's gonna be called Secret Star Wars.
Oh
Oh
no.
no.
Oh, okay. Wants some Crocs.
The last time you got me a secret gift, it was a Chewbacca pillow
What's a Chewbacca?
that my dog was very afraid of, and every time I look at it, I think it's my dog.
Oh, I love this.
All I was gonna say is I haven't consumed anything Star Wars except the movies that I'm required to watch since like last year, and I was so blown away with how much I enjoyed myself.
I think I played my quarterly 20 minutes of Jedi Fallen Order. That's about what I've consumed. I only play about 20 minutes of Jedi Fallen Order every like 4 months. I'll beat it at some point.
I've had the opportunity to play Jedi Fallen Order a lot, and every time I look at that download on Game Pass, I'm like, I really don't want to do Star Wars.
Yeah.
I really don't. And maybe I should play it because God knows I enjoyed this, but I also think it's just because Rogue One is that good.
Yeah. Rogue One is... This movie is so goddamn good. Oh, I actually had like a legitimate thing I want to do here. Hold on. I'm not used to actually doing
Legitimate things. Holy shit.
I'm not used to doing stuff. I'm not...
That's
did want
just
to...
the pandemic. That's just the
I'm
comment.
doing jazz hands over here. Panic jazz hands trying to find my thing. I did want to shout out John Knoll. Knoll. He's this CCO of Industrial Light and Magic.
Oh yeah. He's been around forever. He's great.
He's helped with a bunch of stuff. He announced when this movie got announced, this is based on an unproduced script that he wrote for a TV show back in like 2003.
Oh shit.
Really?
And like Jyn Erso is a character he created.
Wow.
he created the character to be a role model to his daughter. Is as he said it. It's really cool because like he's out there in the industry and he's been heavily involved in Lucasfilm stuff before,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's cool that it's a project after working with the property for as many years as he had wanting to produce and it not happening, which is unfortunate. But it's cool that he may not have necessarily been involved, and it probably changed a bit from what he wanted. It's just nice to see like it be realized, like
Yeah.
Huh, that's wild.
When I did my special features on the rotations, I've never mentioned John Knoll, but John Knoll's present for everything. He's like,
yeah.
he's all over the place. So it's nice to see
Well,
his
that's
fingerprint here.
it's crazy too because if you look on his Wikipedia page,
That's where I'm
there
at
is a
right now,
quote
actually.
at the very top from our boy Rick McCallum.
Your friend, our friend, the man that we will have on the podcast at some point, our Czech father, producer of the prequel movies, Rick
There is a
McCallum.
quote from Big Daddy Rick.
No.
The
I-
Rickster.
We don't. Again, I feel like John Knoll deserves some credit here. So
Yeah.
I feel like I've never heard about this before. So I would like to read this quote from Rick McCallum
I won't
about
open it. I just want to hear it from your words.
John Knoll. So, quote, no matter how technologically advanced movie-making instruments have become, they remain tools. And as tools, they will always need artists to wield them and their creative visions to lead the way. To us, there is no greater example of such an artist than John Knoll. Whatever the problem we throw at him, he'll never fail to come up with a solution that not only meets technical requirements or limitations of the project, but also makes sense within the overall storytelling. Hand the impossible to John, and he'll crack it. Which
Yeah.
I think is incredibly high praise.
Yeah.
So I was shocked by this information today, and I feel as though John Knoll deserves more appreciation than he's been given. So
Oh yeah.
it's my gift to John Knoll for our humble fan base. So
Thank you, John Knoll. And thank you, Chris,
Thank you,
for
John.
changing your Skype background to Rick McCallum because you had it planned out that much.
Rickster, the Rickster.
The Rickster.
I'm
Rick
productive
McCallum.
for one episode of the podcast a year. I got bits for days, baby. What do you want?
God.
I got notes. I got bits. I got Rick McCallum. What do you want?
Rick McCallum, come on our podcast. Also John Knoll. But my life goes Rick McCallum. So Rick McCallum, come on our podcast.
I totally forgot until this moment, a thing I've been meaning to talk about for a while in regards to Star Wars as a whole, and Rogue One is what made it apparent to me when it first came out. Star Wars does a incredible, and we may have talked vaguely about this topic once or twice. Star Wars does a great job of telling and not showing. This movie does a whole lot of showing
Yeah.
to back up the telling, finally.
It also does a good job of just showing and not telling.
Yeah, like, you finally get to see, you hear so many, like, speeches and passing references to, like, lives lost and these battles and all the, the war that the rebellion's been fighting against the Empire and, like...
Many Bothans.
Yeah, like, you get to see the toll that this war is costing on a ground level. Like, we have the market scene with the, extremists going after the Empire, and, it's showing that there's that turmoil, not even necessarily from the rebellion, because, you have Saw's people, which, we're told is how the rebellion started, essentially, and, all of that, but it's showing what Star Wars has always talked about since the beginning of, like, it's everyone's fighting back. There's this growing sentiment. All these lives are being lost in this fight, and we just see like, this kid from Tatooine, like all this stuff going on with this very specific part of the story. We never see all of the, we had the expanded universe where they delved into it a bit and stuff, but like we never saw it in the movies. Even the prequels did to a degree where you see a little bit more of the collateral stuff with the war going on and everything. But like this movie does it on a grounded level that Star Wars never has.
It's something that George was really bad at. It's something. It's a failure of George as a filmmaker that he was not. He was never really able to tell a story without telling you rather than showing you.
Yep.
And I think it largely is because he is, as he's always said, an editing room director. It's hard to show something if you don't film it with that in mind. I think that's also why the prequels have so much CGI scenery.
Yeah.
And I think it's also why George Lucas brought in so many directors to do Order 66. He brought in so many other people to supplement that. Maybe it was just because he was tired of directing, but I think there's probably a reason why he brought Steven Spielberg, probably the best show don't tell director that he knows, in to do that.
He was tired of pointing at a board that said faster and more intense.
Just
Because like Order 66 is like the best show don't tell in the entire Star Wars saga.
Yeah.
And this movie is the best that Star Wars does. There is so much that this movie does that just grips you on an entirely different level.
Yeah.
Just visually, the entire last half of the movie is largely just visuals, but you're attached to all of those visuals because you know the stakes, and you don't have to be reminded of the stakes. All of the stakes are told through the visual storytelling.
Well, it's like that fucking Vader scene at the end. I mean, God, like nobody could have. I mean, people talked about it for a while, like, you know, oh, there's rumors Vader's going to be in Rogue One. Like, are we going to actually get to see Vader in action? Like,
we saw him in action.
It's
great dad jokes.
It's.
I remember people being so mad about that.
It's great.
That dad joke, and I'm just like, he's always done that though.
I'm very unhappy that I do not have children. I would have been, Padme, I would have been a great dad. I would have driven them nuts with my puns. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you. I had to get Downtown Darth in there somewhere.
That's all right. I was looking for an excuse to not ask you if the stakes were well done.
You're saying, Chris?
You almost got away from that one, but you brought puns up, so I had to.
It's
in my contract.
Rogue One feels like it started the era that we have entered into. I would have to check that math actually. No, it just had to have been long before. Maybe not. I'm not sure if this came before the season where Rebels had Vader on pretty heavily.
I feel like that happened first, but I could be wrong.
Which season was?
I don't remember.
That would have been season 3 was coming out at the same time as Rogue One, I believe.
Yeah, that tracks.
It was the pretty Ahsoka Vader heavy season.
That was season 2.
Okay.
Yeah, so that happened just before.
Yeah, but it continued the trend then of making Vader out to be this just force of nature. You know, you don't really like they used to do in the EU a bit, but like, you know, they did it. You know, Rebels, they fucking do it spectacularly in this movie. You know, they do it in Fallen Order at the end as well.
Yeah, and that's where Vader really shines when he is.
Yep.
You put it best, Chris, is saying he's just a force of nature. Like, he is just a beast.
And maybe this is me without context, but I'd like to point out the reason why that scene works so well is because it's Vader. Specifically, Vader. You couldn't take that scene with another character in Star Wars and do it almost shot for shot with the same idea, and it wouldn't have the same effect unless you wanted something else out of that character, because this is Vader, and Vader is meant to be an absolute villain and a monster. You couldn't do this scene with, like, Luke Skywalker, say.
I mean, years later, we've basically done the scene with Luke Skywalker.
That's what I'm referring to. I don't get the Luke Skywalker scene because it's weird. It's weird to me. It's so aggressive and violent in the same way that this hallway scene is.
It's
And
not so much aggressive and violent to me. It comes off.
Dude,
It comes
that-
off way.
Luke crushes that droid's windpipe. Like, as close to, like, he uses a fucking force choke in that thing. It doesn't feel right to me. Like,
Luke
Mandalorian
force
great
chokes the Gamorrean guards and
in the same episode where he battles the last of his dark side, or in the original trilogy, battles the last of his dark side. Here's my point. I don't want to shit on Mandalorian because I still haven't seen large portions of it. The only point I'm making is that the reason why I wouldn't want that same Vader scene peppered across, like, I wouldn't want to see Leia Solo do it. I wouldn't want to see, like, Obi-Wan do it. I don't want to see that because it works specifically for Vader because Vader needed to be presented aggressively, especially in this prequel to A New Hope, because it is a prequel to A New Hope, and he is the villain for 2.5 of those movies. It's a great Vader scene. It's my only point.
well, that's what I think. Clone Wars season 7 does a good job of handling that almost same scene with Darth Maul.
Yeah, it's another character that it would work with.
Darth Maul gets his fucking badass on
Yeah.
in that final season, and there's Darth Maul gets his hallway scene, and dear God, Clone Wars is just Dave Filoni writing war crimes under the guise of a children's show.
Dave Filoni's cartoon for children.
Yeah.
Dave Filoni's cartoon for children.
Y'all want to hear something dark?
Always.
Jin turns into Stardust at the end of this movie.
Okay.
The whole movie, her father calls her Stardust, and by the end of the movie,
Stardust.
This is Star Wars Every Week Forever, where we just ruin everything.
No, that makes it better to me. That makes it better to me.
it's like poetry.
Yeah, right.
Look at the callbacks every week forever.
That's all our podcast is.
Now this movie, seriously though, I cannot stress enough,
How good.
is
a good
such a
movie.
great watch.
It's a
Like
real-
I enjoyed. It's been a hectic day. I've barely seen my wife. I've seen her in passing, I think twice. She was like getting ready to leave and like talking to me, and I was just spaced out staring at this movie as it was playing, and like they're on the beach. Like I missed multiple pieces of pertinent information because I was just staring at this beautiful movie.
I'm just picturing Chris like staring at the TV like slack-jawed, a little bit of drool's coming out.
Basically, like this movie is so fucking good.
One of my new favorite Star Wars lines, and it's always stuck with me, but this watch it especially did. As if I watch this very often. This is the first time I've watched it in a while. The "It's not a problem if you don't look up" line, and the delivery of it is so fucking beautiful.
I do want to go back a bit. In that scene in the market, like the market ambush scene,
Yeah.
Jin is running past the stormtrooper, and she 100% shoots that stormtrooper in the dick.
Oh,
She
no,
runs
it's
past
this.
that stormtrooper, and she shoots that stormtrooper in the dick. Just right in the dick. Just
Fuck this stormtrooper in particular.
Just only in the dick.
I didn't see that. I didn't see that.
I totally missed that. Fucking
Like,
Christ.
and if I'm wrong, then I refuse. She shot that stormtrooper in the dick.
This is
If
my
I'm
headcanon.
wrong, fuck you, I'm
That's
right.
my canon. My canon is correct. Fuck you. She runs by this fucking thing. Like, she runs past the carriage and just, like, shoots it once as she keeps running. It just falls over in this funny way.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
they got Daryl. Dude, are you alright?
That's what makes this. That's the thing that makes this movie so great to me. Like, it's Saving Private Ryan. It's super realistic. It's not realistic.
Well, it's
But it's
gritty.
grounded. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's gritty, it's grounded. It's not.
you mean?
Jay and I just recently played through a tabletop Star Wars game. I think we mentioned it a couple times on previous episodes we played, and that that was one of the things we all went into it wanting of fucking no Jedi. We're sick of Jedi. Just we want a grounded Star Wars story, and that's what this movie is.
Yeah.
The Force is there in the way it always is, and you've got Donnie Yen's character who's obviously talking about the Force and acknowledging its existence, but still, it's a grounded, gritty, like, even for Disney Star Wars, it's grounded and gritty, like violent. Like, Donnie Yen's character gets fucking blown up, and they just ragdoll a fucking stunt dummy, and it's just like, like it's fucking.
There's not a
it's
Wilhelm
brutal.
scream to be found in this entire
Like,
movie.
It's brutal. They fucking toss a god grenade into the ship, and they're just.
And it's not needlessly gritty.
No, like it's not gratuitous in the way it does it.
If there's a story you're gonna tell in the Star Wars universe, this is the one that has to be like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
It has.
Absolutely.
They could have wussed out. They could have just said, all right, one person kind of survives. We've got some sequel bait in there. Maybe we could use them in like other things. No, nobody fucking lives because it wouldn't work like that. It all ends the way it's supposed to end because there's no other story. Because these heroes fail. These heroes fail because in order to allow the people that you remember to succeed. There's no other way around.
I hesitate to ever get like this attempt to wax poetic in this way on this podcast, especially coming from me of all people. But like, this movie is this movie's something special. Like, it really is. This movie is not something that will ever be duplicated, even if they try. Like, they can try to do this type of movie again in the Star Wars franchise. They won't do it. Like, this movie captured something special. It really did.
I really think if they had done this movie 2 years after that, if they had done Solo first and then this movie wouldn't be this good.
No.
I think this movie had a level of creative freedom that isn't necessarily a thing Disney allows in the Star Wars franchise right now on this big a scale. So I don't want to say it's the best Star Wars movie, even if I did it at the beginning for the bit. It's different.
Well, we all know what your favorite Star Wars movie is, Josh.
Shut the fuck up.
Ben's commitment to not letting this bit die is my favorite thing. Just calling you out immediately every time. Just right away.
He's the lore keeper and the bit keeper.
It's all right. Chris loves episode 2. Josh loves episode 7.
That's right.
And I love episode 4.
I had something I was going to say, and it really worked well with it, but it's lost at I think it was something along the lines of Rogue One is a different movie than what Star Wars does, and because of that, it's beautiful and unique. But as a movie, without putting any Star Wars elements in it, it's as good as any of the greats. Should be considered at the top here.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time going back on the bit like you did here. Like, I genuinely, I mean, if I had to be pushed to make an actual list, like, it's 1 or it's 2.
It's 1, 2, or 3 for me, yeah.
Like, if it's not 1, it's 2, but it might be 1. It really might be 1. I would have to. I'm gonna wait like a week or two, and I'm gonna watch this movie again because I want to see if this was just like it's like a natural high I've gotten from watching a different Star Wars movie.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. I don't want to ever watch Rogue One again.
I don't. Never again. I absolutely love this movie. I will never watch it again in my life.
No, it's not. I'll watch it again. I don't want to make it a thing that I watch even once a year on the podcast.
Yeah.
This is my special thing. This is the time capsule I'm burying in the ground of my Star Wars fandom, because my Star Wars fandom is gonna die. It's already happening.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bury it in the ground, and when I want to have that little bit of Star Wars, I will pull it back out and put it in, and then I will put it back in the fucking ground.
I have a fun little Easter egg from Galaxy's Edge.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Okay.
At Galaxy's Edge, I don't know if I mentioned it before. When I went to Galaxy's Edge,
No, you've definitely not mentioned the fact that you went to Galaxy.
no, I'm getting to the thing I wanted to mention, Jay. You dick. I don't know if I mentioned while I was at Galaxy's Edge, I did this thing. I went to it's called Savi's Workshop, and you construct your own lightsaber. And so it's like this whole ceremony thing, and when they have you select, you put an actual like plastic crystal in the lightsaber, and in the back of the workshop they actually pull the crystals out of one of those cases that are on the back of like the Empire tanks in Jeddah City, which I thought was like the neatest fucking Easter egg ever.
That is really neat.
I looked over at my friend who I can't mention, and
who has given us permission to mention him, but we will not, just for the
but
bit.
it's for the bit. Sorry, redacted.
Sorry, redacted.
Sorry, redacted.
I look at him and I go, oh my god, those are from Rogue One, and he's like, Ben, you need to stop.
The appropriate response.
He says this after I spent all day running around translating all of the words written in... What's the fucking... Galactic Basic, but I forget what the in-universe name for it is.
Basic?
Isn't it
No, it's
just
like
yeah.
It used to just be basic.
Yeah.
It's commonly referred to as Basic.
Listen, we only speak basic bitch around here.
Basic bitch. Oh.
Speaking of something that was definitely because I watched Star Wars every single week.
Arabesh. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Arabesh.
I was just filling time.
No, it was just Arabesh.
Really? I didn't know
that's what the canonical name for the Star Wars language is.
That's too extra for me.
It's Star Wars.
Something that I definitely did enjoy in this movie that I only enjoyed because I watched Star Wars every week forever is because I was so happy when they interrupted K2 saying I have a bad feeling about this. Literally just because I watch Star Wars every single fucking week.
Well, you get a break from I have a bad feeling about this once every 9 weeks. You only have to hear I have a bad feeling about this 8 times every 9 weeks.
Is there a Star Wars movie that doesn't have that?
Yeah. The Last Jedi, which I've been meaning to point out for like 5 rotations now, and I keep fucking forgetting. And it pisses me off.
It gets to a point. I know we fucking can.
Yeah,
we're gonna
go
talk
ahead.
about Last Jedi for 1 second. I know we do this thing where we fucking celebrate Rian Johnson for, he's breaking all the trends. Like, fucking, did he have to be that, like, dickish about it? Because that's a dickish move, being like, I'm going to be the only one in here. Fuck you, Rian Johnson. I love you, but god damn it, man.
I love you. That is Chris on the entire podcast, just like, fuck you, Rian Johnson. I love you. God damn it.
I want the episode title to be Hanging Me.
It doesn't have an episode title, unfortunately. But
I know,
wish.
but I so badly want this.
I'll give the movie credit in and of the fact of this. Everything that happens in space is memorable, which is very rare in Star Wars. Every once in a while, because it's set in Empire era, and because it's so close to A New Hope, something happens that's just so out of left field it doesn't feel right. And for whatever reason, one of those scenes is when all of the TIE fighters start to come out of the shield gate to join the battle. There are so fucking many on screen that every time I'm like, that just seems excessive and not very right for some reason. It just doesn't fit right. That scene to me every time just takes me right out of it. It's just like, too much on one screen. All right, George, calm down. You don't need to add things to the background, except this time it's the foreground.
I mean, they're attacking an Imperial installation, so I give it a break.
They've attacked multiple Death Stars, and there weren't that many TIE fighters.
Well, no, but there was a reason for that in those movies.
I get it, but in the movie that comes after this, there were like 17 TIE fighters in the entire Death Star run.
Interestingly enough, I don't know, again, if this is just, I watch Star Wars every week, so this is something new. The dog fighting at the end of this movie, like the space battle,
Yeah.
way more engaging to me than any of the. We talked about this recently, how Star Wars doesn't tend to do great starship battles necessarily, you know, like
It's rare.
but like, yeah, this movie, like it's engaging, it's exciting, like you're into it. There's emotion, and the people in the cockpits, you know, they're smiling when they blow shit up, and like, you know, it's not, yeah, it's
They have like the
so
whole
good.
sequence with the Hammerhead Corvette like
Yeah.
fucking up two.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, in the
ISPs at
theater got me so excited because I didn't watch Rebels, and I'm like, why is there an old Republic fucking Hammerhead fighter here? I don't know
Yeah.
why, but I'm happy because no, it's from Rebels. I'll say this. I think the reason why it works in this context, I think sometimes in other Star Wars movies there's a disconnect between the action that you're seeing in multiple scenes, because either the plot has not presented them as important as they should be, or there's not an emotional connection in the characters that are happening in one part, so it lessens the starfight that's going on. That's not the clear goal. Every action that's done in space in this fight is essential not only to everything that's happening on the planet, it's essential to everything that you know happens next. And that, I think, is why it's such a memorable Star fight, because they keep it grounded in being supplementary to the action that's happening elsewhere. It also helps that they put the fan service of old unused footage from A New Hope into it. That's also hugely helpful. Ben, you're chewing over something.
You said Star Fight, and I wanted to say you might call it a Star War.
Cancel the show.
Ben, I can't lead us out. If it was me, like I usually do, ending the show. This is Ben's. This is Ben.
Ben's every week.
And on this note, this has been Star Wars every week forever. Good night.
Happy May the 4th.
May the 4th be with you.
Go.
Did you just Vulcan salute?
No, Christopher.
I never want to hear you complain about bringing up Star Trek again, you motherfucker.
Go watch Bad Batch. It's out today.
Oh, okay, cool. Disney Plus. That's $6.99 in the business.
$7.99 in the biz because they raised their fucking prices, you dicks.
Hey, if you enjoyed us, thought we were funny, like our content, or just really love our suffering and want to hear more of it, we're available all over the place and release episodes every Wednesday around 12 Eastern Standard Time. You can find us on Spotify, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Player FM, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and in a unique format over on YouTube that our fans seem to dig. You can join in on the conversation over on Twitter as well, at SWEWF. We're quite active and love to hear from our fans. Sincerely, though, we appreciate you taking the time out of your day to spend with us on this car crash of a ride.